You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts, Uncle Mike TOSAW from St. Charles Wealth Management, along with Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian and Andrew the Rock Lobster Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody. That music means we are back once again here on the mighty Options Insider Radio Network to commence yet another broadcast week. Time once again for the beloved bi-weekly options extravaganza known far and wide as the Option Block. My name, of course, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as, of course, from the aforementioned network. Man, coming hot off the heels of looking at the November numbers over the weekend. It's crazy cakes how much bandwidth you folks are sucking down on me these days. But you know what? It's a good problem to have. So if you like what you hear, and clearly a lot of you do, keep on heading on to the platforms you're getting it now. And make sure you leave a little rating and review. It does help the legion of new folks who are out there discover the content. Again, 15 plus years. January, 16 freaking years. That's terrifying to say out loud. I've been doing this podcast thing here for a little bit. But yes, new folks discovering it all the time. If you like what you hear, do keep rating and reviewing. And of course, if you want even more content in your lives, then of course the Option Block twice a week, TWIFO on Thursday, Vol Views on Friday, Crypto after this show, Options Bootcamp, OPR, all that good stuff throughout the week. If you want even more in your lives, if you can handle it, theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go to get even more exclusive content. Get access to the Pro podcast feed that has somewhere around 200 episodes of exclusive content we've done for you folks now. Man, I like being busy, I guess. And then, of course, every week you're going to get a great Pro Q&A. Just came off one with the Flow Master himself. That was awesome last week, as well as, of course, Options Oddities at the end of every week where we get into all sorts of wild and woolly unusual activity business. Giveaways. Coming up this week, we are going to give away the November Pro Trading Crates. If you were active in the Pro anytime throughout the month of November, your name is automatically entered into the hat. So stay tuned for that. I think it's going to be on Bootcamp, so stay tuned for that. But we did on Bootcamp last week. People liked it, so we'll keep rolling it on Bootcamp. Besides, we got other business to attend to here on the old Option Block show listeners. So theoptioninsider.com/pro is the place to go to begin that journey to the dark side. Meanwhile, our journey on the network commences the way it always does. We have two combatants locked in a epic contest for the soul of one modern vintage SDCC exclusive Sergeant Slaughter G.I. Joe style figure. I think mine might have arrived. I bought one for myself as well, but one for these fine fellows here as well. But they don't just get it. They have to earn it by battling to the death in the form of naming really 80s wrestlers via their entrance music. We mixed it up last week. Kind of threw these guys for a loop. They've had a week to plan and prepare now. We'll see if they can handle it, because we're going medley route again. They're going to get 3 themes coming at them in quick succession. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. They need to get as many of those 3 wrestlers as they can. I will give you guys this hint, because you guys stunk up the joint last week. We have done all three of these guys before. I will say two of them pretty big, well-known guys. One of them is still well-known, but a little less so. I think two of the three are heels. So I will give you that. All right, here we go. Can you name these 80s wrestlers via their entrance music? Here we go. That's all she wrote, listeners. I went out last week. I gave Uncle Mike the heroic opportunity, because he is leading by, I believe, 1 point. I gave him the heroic opportunity to dive in first. He, in a surprising act of cowardly skullduggery, attempted to pass. This week, he shall have to go first. Mr. Uncle Mike from St. Charles Wealth Management. Show your clients and all the listeners out there what a brave, heroic soul you are, sir. How many of those three 80s wrestlers can you name?
Oh, man, that's tough. This is a tougher game. This is a game that's becoming pretty tough. So for the first one, here's the other problem. You get so caught up in the second and third song, you forget what the first one is.
There you go. Yes, see? Got to keep the memory banks rolling. Do you have no guesses?
No, for the third one, I'm going to go with the British Bulldogs.
Okay.
Ooh,
second one.
Whoa. You're going with Ye Sons of France for the British Bulldogs.
Wait. Don't.
I just want to make sure.
Don't give him any help. He is your nemesis in this game.
I know.
That's right. We had
that's official.
Shoot. Yeah, we had that Canadian thing that went on before. I remember this now. I'm going to go down looking on this one. I'm not going to embarrass myself any further. I yield to Sebastian on
British
this
Bulldogs.
one.
All right. Mr. Sebastian, it's yours for the steal. Mr. Mark Sebastian from OptionPit.com, sir. What you got for us this week?
So the first one, I have no idea. So I'm just going to throw one out. That was not the heel. We're going to say that's let's go with let's just go with Paul Orndorff on the first one.
Okay.
Why not?
The second one you should both get.
Second one, I thought it was the Powers of Pain.
Oh.
So I thought that was the Warlord and the Barbarian. And the last one, I think it's the Quebecers, or it's I don't think it's Dino Bravo. I think it's the Quebecers. That would be my guess.
All right, so first off, very sad that both of you missed the second one, which is the Iron Sheik. Like the greatest heel of them all, perhaps. So, wow, I thought for sure I should demerit both of you just for that. The first one was Tito Santana. We just did him. So neither of you got that, so it was not Paul Orndorff. The third one, Uncle Mike, you guessed British Bulldogs the last time we did Dino Bravo.
That's right. I remember that now, right afterwards.
So, Meatball, I don't know. You guessed 2 for the last one. That's kind of cheating. But I don't know. Given the fact that no one's gotten any points for 2 weeks now on this show, you get like half a point for that. So I guess you get 1 for this week. So I guess
I knew it was French Canadian.
I guess
right?
Sebastian is the winner. So I guess you'll get a point for this. So I guess that pulls you into a tie. But I'm not feeling good about either of your performances over the last 2 weeks. You guys got to step it up if you want to earn that premium G.I. Joe style Sarge as we keep on rolling right on into the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the trading block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the trading block, the portion of the show where we break down what the heck is trading. And I'm guessing the markets didn't like that performance from Uncle Mike or the Greasy's Meatballs either, because they are back to squarely in the red camp. S&P off somewhere in the neighborhood of 1.5%. NASDAQ about 1.7% when we kicked off the show, and the Dow about 1.15%. S&P threatening the 4,000 level again. Let's see. Let me see if I can get my machine to play ball with me here. I don't think we broke it. No, it looks like got down to about 4,005 or so in that radius before rebounding a little bit here. So threatening to break 4,000 again. Can we do it? We shall see, listeners. All this downside, VIX having very little upside. When we kicked off the show, it was unched for a lot of the morning. It was up about 0.2 of a point when we actually kicked off the show, all the way up to a balmy 20.7. So contain yourselves, listener. We did get down into the teens last week. I believe we hit an 18 handle at one point, which is just crazy town. But here we are back a little bit north of 20, about 20.7 when we kicked off the show, listeners. VVIX, the vol of vol, about an 85, up about 4 points from where it was on Thursday's show. VXX continuing its downward trajectory down to about 1460. It's down about 0.4 of a point. UVXY down about 1/3 of a point. This thing is just threatening to go the way of the dodo. Reverse split coming sometime. We shall see when. Down about 0.3 of a point so far. Today, SVIX 1440, up about 0.4 of a point. UVIX 640, the other direction, down 0.4 of a point. And VolQ is at about a 25 when we commenced operations here. That's down about 0.5 a point from where we were this time last week, listeners. So not a ton of living out there in the vol space, even though we are seeing a fair amount of living out there in the major indices. And since he quote-unquote won, even though it was a bit of a middling win, let's go out to the greasiest of meatballs first. Mr. Sebastian, sir, what is lighting up your tape out there today?
Well, I'm going to say that the reaction that we're getting today is basically just returning to kind of where we were on Friday. Friday's employment number was, if you're looking for the Fed to pivot, not the kind of number you want. And not because the actual job growth, but the wage increases and the average hourly earnings were up so much and well above expectations. So this is just, I think, the market having time to digest that, hey, maybe we shouldn't have been buying on Friday. And, you are getting a little bit of a reaction out of volatility finally. But VIX at 20.5, still relatively inexpensive, still relatively low from where it's been. Apple has had quite the day. It was up $2.50 at one point, and now as I'm looking at it, it's down $1. So they are. It has been flying around. Oil stocks started the day way up, and have since gotten smoked. WTI was up big on the open. And it too has taken some pain. So just kind of, it was earlier in the day. I mean, today the high for WTI pre-market was 82.70, and now it's trading 77.70. So we're talking about a 5-point swing in WTI as the trading day has progressed. But interestingly, there is some green floating around there. Travel looks all right. You've got some of the exchanges like CME looking all right. So some retail doesn't look terrible. And obviously consumer staples are the go-to spot when the market is falling apart in the utilities, and they look relatively strong as well. Delta is another one that's had a big up and down swing day. It was up over $1. It's now up 16 cents. So, this is an interesting one. Market looks like it wants to kiss 4,000. I don't know if it's going to make out with it, but it looks like it's going to at least try and kiss it, give it a little peck on the lips.
Yes, we shouldn't have bought on Friday, perhaps. A little bit of a buyer's remorse out there. We shall see. Uncle Mike never met a market that he didn't want to buy. Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, what are your thoughts on today's sea of red hitting all the indices, sir?
Well, to add to Sebastian's analogy of it kissing 4,000, I guess the bulls kind of hope that 4,000 blows it a kiss and then makes it go the other way from the kiss it blows it. So that's where I guess the bulls would stand on that. So, the interest rates are what it's all about right now. We can talk about different political events. We can talk about companies. We can talk about this, that, or the other. This is a Fed market, and whatever the Fed does is going to trump pretty much anything at this stage. So that's what it's about. How is the announcement going to affect what the Fed does? How is this earnings going to affect what the Fed does? What is going to make the Fed do this, that, or the other? That's what it all boils down to at this point. We're waiting on the Fed. Right now, from the standpoint of a bull, the hope is that 4,000 can save this market, even if it kisses it, and then goes higher from the kiss, so to speak. The key number, or the key round number, being 4,000 is something that's the big hope at this stage. That is one case for the bulls at this stage, as well as the fact that we are still above the 50-day moving average. So that's another good case for the bulls. Further evidence that this is an undoubted Fed market is that we have bonds reacting in lockstep with stocks, meaning that they're down as well. So it's really just based upon what the Fed wants to do at this stage. Silver is down again. It had a run up recently, but it's still above, SLV still above the 20 level. But for the most part, there's three words that sum up this market: Fed, Fed, and Fed.
Are you fed up with all this Fed talk, listeners? I could see why maybe you would be. It is very much driving this market as it has been for some time. Let's see how much market is being driven out there. Let's get out to the major indices first, see what kind of numbers we're putting up out there today. And a lot of red on the screen. You might be forgiven for thinking red. VIX, we putting up some serious numbers already. And the answer so far is, kind of a little bit more than a shrug of the shoulders. You'd expect maybe somewhere around 250,000 contracts at least right now. We're a little bit north of that. We're about 304,000 contracts. So it's not nothing, but it's not blowing the doors off. We're not racing to the 1M handle either out there today. 304,000 contracts on the tape. The ADV gaining about 10,000 over the past few days, up to about 561,000. Still obviously well shy of 600K. And of course it is December, so the latter portion of this month is not exactly known for being a bastion of options volume. So we'll see how those ADVs react going forward. SPY, 5.5 million. The ADV, about 7.8 million contracts. Yes, 1.52 million right now. The ADV, about 2.59 million. So the S looking robust. I do want to dive in. Again, we had that great pro Q&A with the Flow Master last week. He was talking about some days north of 40% of that SPX flow is in these crazy daily options, zero DTE stuff, all the rage out there. I'll have to get a breakdown, see if I can pull it up for you folks here on the show of exactly how much of that 1.5 million right now is folks just playing with all the fire, going zero DTE, go big or go home out there. Small caps, IWM also on fire right now, listeners. IWM already 605,000 contracts on the tape. The ADV 790. So almost at its ADV. Again, that ADV has come in quite a bit. It was threatening 1 million not too long ago. Now it's down to 790,000. But still, 605 right now. Usually we see small caps around 250,000 maybe right now. So that's a lot of paper for small caps. And that's maybe not surprising given the fact that right now IWM off about 2.5%. So they are coming for all things small caps. 1834 is where the Russell 2000 is hanging out right now, listeners. You want more of that, of course, we'll get deep into all things small caps later this week on TWIFO. And then the Qs, 1.42 million. The ADV out there right now, listeners, 2.73 million contracts. All right, let's get out to the most actives, see what's lighting things up out there today. And it looks like it's a very macro-heavy market, listeners. The single names, they're not doing nothing, but they're not exactly keeping pace. Only cost you 194,000 contracts to break into the top 10 today. That's more than, let's say, $1.55 that we might see in August, but not much, listeners. That gets us to Tilray, back to the cannabis sector. Haven't talked about this area in a while. Even they call themselves a cannabis lifestyle company out there. Trading 484, up about a quarter right now, or about 5.5%. So a nice little pop for them. And again, doing 194,000 contracts. It's been a while, like I said, since we've seen this one or any of its compatriots, Sundial and others here in our top 10. So interesting here. On number 9, we got quite the assortment of names in the top 10 today. We've got good old Bank of America, 217,000 contracts, off about $1.40 on the day, or nearly 4%, about 3.75% right now. This one's pretty much been going straight down all day. It didn't really have any early session rally out here. So they are coming for Bank of America. Still only 217,000 contracts on the tape out there. So not exactly a banger of a day for Bank of America. Not a banger of a day for NEO either. 219,000 contracts for them. That's not a ton for NEO. And looks like they're coming for this name a little bit as well today. They were at about $14 when they opened this morning. They got down to as low as $12.59, trading $12.92 right now. So off still on the day, but they looks like they have managed to rebound a little bit from their lows. Intriguing. Of course, NEO could be dragged down by many factors out there. Let's look really quickly. The low for the year is 838. So they're obviously well north of that. Looks like they hit that in that November timeframe, around the November 9th period or so. So intriguing. So they have rebounded nicely over the last month, up about 20-odd%. But intriguing stuff out here. For NEO, again, only 219,000 contracts on the tape. Number 7, a name that has become synonymous with all things China out there right now, rightly or wrongly, it is BABA. 220,000 contracts on the tape for them. Up about $0.50 right now. They've had a range of about almost $93 on the upside and about $89.60 on the downside today. So nice little range out there for BABA. Number 6, this one's been a stalwart in our top 10 the last few weeks. This is AMC. The Apes back, not today, listeners, off about $0.50, trading $7.66. It got as high as $8.50 and as low as $7.64 out there today. So intriguing little range out there for AMC, and that's good for 224,000 contracts out there, listeners. Number 5, going to the chip zone, and that kicks us off with NVIDIA. 226,000 listeners. We're all the way up at number 5, and we're not even north of 300,000 out there. So that just shows you what a light day we've got on our hands today. 226,000 contracts on the tape for NVIDIA. 167.5 is where it's trading right now, off about $1.25. It's like it had a low of 166.39 and a high of almost 170 today. So interesting little range out there for NVIDIA, but not really translating into any numbers. Number 4, another frequent offender. Ever since they changed their name, they've been very much dallying with our top 10 today. Number 4, it's Meta. 283,000 contracts on the tape, trading right around 122 right now, off about $1.31. Their low on the day was 121 and about 3/4. The high was 124, almost 70. So they've done a lot of living, nearly $3 worth of range out there today for Meta. Again, they've had quite the resurgence ever since they announced those layoffs. When we did that poll just a few weeks ago, both Amazon and Meta were squarely south of 100. So Meta's had a nice rebound. Hey, the street never saw a layoff it didn't like, right? And that apparently is the case these days again in Meta. Let's go out to number 3. We're jumping up a little bit now. The Amazonians. By the way, we're out of the chip zone, listeners. Usually number 4 is the upside of the chip zone. What did you miss today? No AMD. No AMD in the top 10 for the first time in ages. So AMD not putting up really any numbers today, it seems like. Number 3, the Amazonians. 611,000 contracts on the tape for them. They're still hanging out a little bit shy of where they were when we did our poll. So everyone flocked to Amazon, and I could certainly see why you chose them, but the near-term winner has been demonstrably Meta in that 2-horse race there. Amazon, 91.66 off $2.50 today. It's had a range of about 94 on the upside and about $91 on the dark side. So close to a $3 range there for the Amazonians out there. Number 2, as the Meatball alluded to earlier, it's the fruit company. It's actually doing some numbers today, 846,000. That whipsaw he was talking about earlier is no doubt a big driver of that. It's been a while since we've seen Apple threatening 1 million. So something is afoot out there. And let's see, opened the day right around 147.70, shot up to about 150 3/4 or so on the day. Almost got up to 151. And then it just turned right back around again, got down to a low of 146.37, hanging out about 146 3/4 right now. So this name has done a lot of living over the span of just this morning, close to $4.50 range out there for Apple. I've said it before, the market doesn't like when Apple is red, and they really tried to turn it red today. So interesting. And again, not even 1 million contracts, 846,000. To find a M handle on our list, listeners, we have to go to the number 1 spot yet again. It is Tesla, 1.16 million. They are coming for this one today, off nearly 12 handles, or about 6%, trading a little bit north of 183 right now. It's had a range of 182.45 on the dark side and 191.27 on the upside out there. So a lot of living here, but intriguing stuff out here nonetheless, and obviously a ton of paper here, 1.16 million contracts on the tape for Tesla. Why are they coming for Tesla? Why are they coming for NIO? Hey, they're the ends in Y. You don't need much. Probably people thinking all the uprisings going on in China and the lockdowns perhaps hitting production and deliveries over there. Tesla denies it, but not enough to stem the bloodletting out there today. If you want a little bit more concrete micro in your lives, listeners, we got you covered. There are still some earnings names popping off this week. Where we got Tuesday, we got Dave & Buster's. Man, that's been a challenging sector to be in for the last few years, huh? The in-person, high-touch gaming area. I don't envy them. Wednesday, Ollie's Outlet Store. I had never even heard of this thing until Brian did it, one of his trades of the week on OPR a few months ago, and all of a sudden it's been popping up on our radar all over the place. We don't really have them here in and around Chicago, so I've never seen one. I think they're more of a southern and maybe some other areas of the Midwestern bargain store, but Ollie's Outlet Store on Wednesday. GameStop also on Wednesday. The name that kicked off the meme palooza last year, the original meme. Then we've got Thursday, Costco, Lululemon, and Broadcom. It's funny that Costco comes so late in the cycle. We've already had Walmart. We've already had every other big retail name, your Targets, you name it. And then Costco doing their own thing a lot later out there. So a lot of names popping off. Hey, Sheer Yoga Pants. That's always an interesting one out there with Lululemon. Let's get on out to our earnings move. We got Dave & Buster's popping off on the 6th after the bell. $39 is where they were trading going into this announcement. By the way, we just ran these reports right before showtime, hot off the presses from our friends over there at ORADS. That stock's already taken a hit. It's already down $1.50 from where we ran these numbers earlier this morning. They were pricing in $332. In the past, they moved $265, so a little bit of extra juice. And as today's movement exhibits, really, it's warranted, it seems like. Let's go to GameStop, 7th after the bell. $27.50 is where they were trading. They were pricing in about 2 3/4. In the past, they've moved $342, so a little bit less juice out there in GameStop this week. Is that merited? What's going on? Have you guys been slinging the original meme name, listeners, or have you kind of moved on to other names? Hit us up, let us know. Costco, 8th after the bell, $494.50 is where they were trading. They priced in almost $21, about $20.80. And in the past, get this, listeners, they moved $10.39. So they're pricing in literally a 2Xer here for Costco. Wow. That is a lot of juice for Costco. I may have to take a look at Costco after the show, see what's afoot out there, listeners. And let us not forget the invisible yoga pants of Lululemon, the 8th after the bell as well. $386 is where they were trading. They were pricing in $26.20. In the past, they've moved $20.50. So a fair amount of extra juice in Lululemon as well. Not quite a 2Xer like Costco, but still a fair amount of extra juice. Where's the season as a whole hanging out right now? We do keep revising it, listeners. Week 1 getting revised down to 83% now, so that brings the whole season down to 118%. Still the most rock'em sock'em robot season that we've seen since we've been crunching these numbers. The average right now is about 92%. Listeners, and in terms of earnings trades, no new trades going on or coming out today, but we are monitoring 78 long straddles and 49 long calendars for your trading information and good old edumacation. You know where to go to find all this goodness. TheOptionsInsider.com. Click on the Options News and Articles tab to begin that journey to the dark side as we continue our journey right on into the Odd Block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by TheOptionsInsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
All right, everybody, let's do it. Let's see what the weird and the wild, the wonderful, unusual activity gods have ferreted out for us today through the lens of the Eye of Sauron. We're still tracking the second leg of that Camping World Strangle. Listeners, remember, bought the puts, I think, expiring last week, the 27 puts, and they also bought the 27.5 calls expiring this week. So we'll come back on Thursday and see how both legs of this strangle apparently are playing out. Instead, let's go on to some more paper from this week. Mr. Meatball, stop me if you've heard this one before, but someone is out there buying size puts in a REIT. Have you ever heard anything so crazy in your life, sir?
Yes. Yes, I have. REITs have been seeing a ton of put activity. I can track about 5 different REITs that are seeing a ton of put volume. So they don't really trust these REITs very much right now.
No, they do not. And our Odd Block today, listeners, in case you were on the fence about that subject, allow us to provide more ammo for you. Let's go out first to Apollo Commercial Real Estate Finance, Inc., ticker symbol ARI, A-R-I, trading $11.68 right now, off about 40-odd cents, or about 3.3% just today on the year. A little bit of a different story. It was trading at $14 exactly a year ago. So they're off, but not perhaps as bad as some of the other names out there, about 16.6%. They hung out in that range for most of the year, most of the early part of the year, I should say, until March. Then they started selling off. From March 29th, they went from $14.50. By June 16th, they were trading $9.50. Then they rallied again. By August 16th, they got back up to about $13. Then they came for it again. October 3rd, September 29th, in that range. They got down to their low for the year of $7.91. And then ever since then, they've been kind of in rally-ho mode again, up about a fair amount, up about 3 handles just in the span of the last couple of months from October until now. So a nice little rally for them. And then now they're kind of giving some of that back over the last few sessions. They got up to 12.36. That was back last week. And now they're trading about 11.68. So looks like some folks are not buying this most recent leg of the rally, listeners, or at least they're not thinking it's going to be around for too long, because they're taking advantage of it to pick up some puts at perhaps discounted prices. We've got the Feb 10 puts going up for $19,990. So just 10 shy of 20K, listeners. Going up for about 39 cents, pretty much lifting the offer out there. This is a 51 vol, if you are intrigued. It's a pretty fair amount of vol for a REIT, listeners. Let's see. The stock was a little bit north. It was $11.98, exactly 30 cents north of where it is right now. So they are passing that first test, which is the stock has moved in their favor, so they're happy about that. Better than the other way, clearly. And between now and February 7th, I should say between now and February expiration, there is an earnings announcement that's on February 7th. So they are buying themselves an earnings cycle as well. So you're getting a lot of time and a lot of events for your 38 cents, at least, Mr. Meatball, I should say. What are your thoughts on these pretty sizable Apollo Commercial Real Estate 10 puts, sir? Almost 20K.
You know, we've seen a ton of put buying in these real estate, in these REITs, and doesn't surprise me. I think it's a lot of hedging. These have a ton of interest rate risk. And if interest rates are going to stay high for a very long time, it's going to be very bad for these. People own them for the dividend. But if they start running into problems, we start seeing commercial real estate really hit some trouble. Apollo is going to be in for a world of hurt, and that is why they're buying these puts. Makes total sense to me.
We could do a whole separate show on just size REITs puts. So many have gone up over the past few months. Most of this year, it's been the trade out there in the REIT side, just loading up on puts. And that's Exhibit A, listeners. Allow me to present Exhibit B in my argument that folks love themselves some REIT puts. Let's go on out to Ares Commercial Real Estate Corp., ticker symbol ACRE, A-C-R-E, trading right now $11.71. So not much of a price discrepancy between Ares and ACRE out there. It's off about 40 cents today. On the year, let's see. This one's had not that dissimilar of a trajectory. It was trading about $15.14 a year ago, so about $3.30 or so north of where it is right now. And then trended up into April to about $16.50. That was their high for the year. Then they sold off hard again, like our other friend did. Hit their first low for the year, $11.36, back on June 16th. And they rallied again, got up to about 13 3/4 in August. Then they sold off hard again, hit their low for the year, $10 exactly on September 29th. And ever since then, they've rebounded back up to where they are right now, 11.71. They got as high as 12.38, looks like. So a very similar trajectory to what we were just talking about out there in RE, this time in ACRE, and also very similar paper around the same time, listeners. About a half an hour separates these two trades. So does seem like very related paper, related size. 19,000 this time as opposed to almost 20,000. Again, same strike. Feb 10 puts going up for almost the exact same price. Those were 38.9 cents. This is 35 cents. This market a little bit more atrocious. The last market, 20 cents at 40, a little bit tighter. This one, a dime at 50. So obviously, ACRE even less liquid than RE out there. This was about a 50 vol as well. So strike was the same, size was the same, vol level is the same. The stock price when they put the trade up, it was $11.98 for RE, is $11.96 for ACRE. My goodness. If it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, listeners, chances are we've got some waterfowl here. Mr. Meatball, pretty much the exact same trade going up almost at the exact same time for the exact same size, exact same vol level, exact same stock price at the time here. This time in ACRE, sir. What say you?
Yeah, probably the exact same reason for the trade, right? A REIT portfolio probably is getting a little nervous here and wants to hedge itself. That's why you're seeing some of the trading action. We've been seeing traders build up for, these types of trades for a while. So I am not at all surprised that that trade went up at all.
Now let's get out of the world of size REIT puts. Let's see if we can mix it up. It is kind of a light day, listeners. Not a ton going up out there that makes you scratch your chin and say, But let's go back to a name we haven't talked about in a while. This is VIP Shop Holdings Limited. Ticker symbol VIPS, VIPS, I should say. This is an ADR. This is a Chinese discount e-tailer. Trading $12.50, up about half a buck today. So nice little pop for them today. On the year, again, interesting year. A year ago, it was trading $9.15. They sold off to their low for the year on March 14th, so right after all that invasion madness. They hit their low for the year of 5 3/4. Then they've pretty much been on the upswing. They got up to it looks like their high for the year of $12.59 in August. Then they took a rare hiatus from the upside. They sold off back down to $6.97, so actually not that far from about a buck and change away from their low for the year. That was back on Halloween, October 31st, they hit that. And then ever since then, they've been on the rampage pretty much straight up about 51% or 4 1/4 just in the last month. My goodness, it's run from a little bit shy of $7 all the way to where it is right now, $12.50. So VIP Shop Holdings on fire right now. And it looks like, Mr. Meatball, somebody thinks this upside swing shall continue. We had someone coming in this morning and scooping up 1,889 of the D's 14s. They paid 15 cents for these bad boys. That is a 71 vol, listeners, so not exactly cheap. It was pretty much right at the stock's 52-week high at the time of 12.43, so obviously we are even higher than that now. There are no earnings between now and D's expiration. The next one is in February, so obviously they just had earnings. Worth noting, too, if you also dig around in some of the paper today, it looks like someone also about, let's see, when did this trade go up? About 20 minutes before this trade, started selling a bunch of puts as well, puts that expire this week. So on the 9th, they sold the 12 puts, 740 for 15 cents, and then another 740 for 22 cents, another 740 for 25 cents. They did a total of, I think, somewhere around 4,000 of those 12 puts they sold for this week. And then after all that, it looks like they bought about 2,000 of the 14 calls. Maybe as a bit of a kicker. So it could be unrelated paper, but they went up in a similar time frame out there. Mr. Meatball, first, what are your thoughts on someone swinging for the fences, a little bit of some near-term upside love in everyone's favorite VIP Shop Holdings Limited, sir?
Yeah, I don't know a lot about it, but upside calls, the D's 14s, they're 1,900 of those. I don't know a lot about it, but the market's getting smoked and this thing's up 5%. So Something interesting must be going on here. What do these guys do?
They're like a discount e-tailer out of China.
Well, I mean, China's been strong. It must be some sort of China to the moon trade. The put sale makes a little more sense to me for this week. Decent yield, and you're getting a decent amount of juice for them. So that makes a little more sense to me than the way out of the money call buy. I'd rather sell those and buy, I'd rather buy the 13s. But someone to the moon, a little YOLO action there.
Little YOLO action. Looks like a total of about 5,000 of those D12 puts expiring on the 9th have gone up now, listeners. So about 5,000 versus almost 2,000 of the D14 calls. Again, they didn't go up as spread, but around the same time. So again, the old analysis, if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, chances are they are related. Waterfowl as we keep on rolling. Let's see what Uncle Mike has in store for us. It is time for a little bit of the old strategy block.
It's time to dispense options, wit, wisdom, and education. It's time for the strategy block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the strategy block, the portion of the show where Uncle Mike dispenses options, wit, and or wisdom. Uncle Mike, I gave you 2 swings at the Dino Bravo bat, and you came up British Bulldog both times. You also missed your beloved Iron Sheik, sir. So what have you to say for yourself? How are you going to make it up to these fine folks?
I mean, I'm going into depression. I got to go get some therapy for this. I mean, it's a problem. It's a bad problem. So I just ask that you pray for my professional wrestling historian mental health, because just of the successful ride with which I've had over the past couple of years since we started doing this. Now this, I don't even know what to say for myself right now.
I think your success went to your head. You kind of gotten out of fighting form a little bit. You got to have your kids start hitting you with some medleys while you're riding in the car. And you got to start prepping again. You got to start preparing. Like, the old Rocky montage, Rocky IV, where he's training in the snow, screaming Drago. You got to get back in that fire. You got to light that fire again, Uncle Mike. You got to start training. So next week in the medley, you're going to crush it 3 for 3.
I'll do what I can. So anyway, the other thing that I would like to do today is, as we're getting closer to the end of the year, last week I had talked a little bit about tax harvesting. This week I want to talk a little bit about the 1256 contract. Talked about this on the strategy block a bunch in the past, but I think it's pretty relevant because we're getting closer to the end of the year right now. What is a 1256 contract? Well, a 1256 contract is one to where when you have gains on the option, 60% of it is taxed at long term and 40% of it is taxed at short term. So what on earth does this mean? And there's more to it than that. I'll explain shortly. Let's say that I were to buy a call on Google and I make a $100 profit on my Google call in less than a year. That $100 profit is going to be taxed at the short-term rate. And the short-term rate is typically equivalent to what your income tax rate is. Now, let's say that I make a $100 profit on SPX. If I do that, then $60 are going to be taxed at the long-term rate, and $40 are going to be taxed at the short-term rate because it is a 1256 contract. So when doing this, have an understanding of how the 1256 contracts work. I like using them for clients outside of an IRA. I mean, I'll trade SPX inside an IRA too for a variety of other reasons, but outside of an IRA, this can come in pretty handy and save you some money on your taxes. Now, what are some of the benefits of the 1256 contract besides what I just mentioned? Well, another one is that you won't have any wash sale issues. You don't get wash saled on a 1256 contract. For example, let's say that I wanted to take a loss on Google. I just bought the stock and I took a $100 loss on it and I want to claim that loss. Well, if I buy it within 30 days, I can't claim that loss because it's what's called a wash sale. Now, if it's a 1256 contract, let's say that I take a loss on a call option on SPX or whatever 1256 contract that I want to use, then I don't have that issue. The wash sale doesn't affect me. Now, the other thing to be aware of with the 1256 contract is that at the end of the year, it is marked to market based on the closing price the last day of trading. So in other words, even if you were to buy a call option on December 18th and you don't sell it till January 15th, based on the tax laws on the last day of trading, whatever it closes at, you sold it at that time, and then you immediately bought it the first day of trading at the opening price on the first day of trading. And so for tax purposes, it's called mark to market. So when it's marked to market, then you will have to pay the gains for that year when it closes on the year. So something to think about as to how you can factor in a 1256 contract potentially for your non-IRA trading, because if this is all in an IRA, it's all irrelevant from a tax standpoint because you're not taxed until you take distributions on the IRA, or you're never taxed at all if you're trading in a Roth IRA. So something to think about, make sure that you have an understanding of it. Now, where you can find 1256 contracts, futures and futures options are typically 1256 contracts. SPX is a 1256 contract, and there's other ways with which you can find it. If you see something that you want to trade, I would suggest you call up your broker to determine whether it is a 1256 contract or not. And that is the strategy block for today.
All right, and let's keep on rolling to a little bit of the old mail block.
It's time to take your seat on the All-Star panel as we read your emails, tweets, Facebook messages, website comments, and much more. It's time for the Mail Block.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Mail Block, the portion of the show you folks ask questions. We also turn the spotlight back around on you with our questions of the week. Last week we asked you, we've seen vol erode in recent weeks. Have we entered a new VIX regime, or is this just a blip on the radar? Quite simply, where will VIX close at the end of the year? Gave you 4 choices, gave you around where it was when we posted the poll, so between 20 and 23, north of 23 to 26, so a little bit higher, or even higher, just closing somewhere north of 26, or lower, somewhere below 20. And about 35% of you, 34.8, chose the around here level of 20 to 23. Right behind it, 29% saying a little bit higher, 23.01 to 26. And then third place, north of 26, 18.8%. And only 17.4% of you say we're going to close in the teens, somewhere below 20 listeners. So intriguing stuff out there. This week's question of the week just went live a few minutes before showtime. We're asking you very simply, what is your favorite new option product that we've added, or I should say that you've added to your trading arsenal this year? Gave you 3 choices plus the infamous other. And if you do choose other, please reply, DM, whatever you want to do with what your other product is. If it's interesting, we can discuss it on the show. That's part of the fun. We love when you folks introduce us to interesting new esoteric products. All right, we gave you 3 choices here. BITO options, a very popular one out there. These new SPX daily, in quotes, daily options that are just lighting up the charts, or any one of the many new vol ETPs we've seen listed this year. You got your SVIX, you got your UVIS, your XBKY, etc., or the infamous other. Let's go around the horn. Let's start with the greasiest of meatballs. Mr. Meatball, sir, which of these new options products do you think our listeners are trading now, sir?
Oh, the dailies. They love them.
Interesting. I know that's your choice. You're a big daily man yourself.
Oh, yeah.
You love yourself.
I've been all over them today. It's been awesome.
Mr. Daily, a.k.a. Mr. Meatball. Mr. Uncle Mike, I think you've not exactly been on the daily SPX train yet, but what do you think our audience is choosing? Is it BITO? Is it the SPX dailies? Is it some of these vol ETPs? Or do you have an alternate suggestion for us?
I think the audience is choosing the dailies, and I like the dailies because it gives you another way to customize where you want to go. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to buy a new call or new put every day, but it helps customize things, and I'm a fan.
All right, let's see what our audience is a fan of. I certainly, from the volume numbers, expect the dailies to do well. Right now, though, in the early voting, it is all BITO all the time. BITO options, 57.1% of the early voting, followed by number 2, the SPX dailies, 28.6 only. And all the vol ETPs, your SVIXs and UVIXs and what have yous, 14.3%. No votes for other yet, but again, it just went live right before showtime, listeners. Get out there at Options. You'll see it there. We also retweet it throughout the week if you don't see it at the top of your timeline. So get out there and make your voice heard. As we keep on rolling into our final segment, it is time to go around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to Around the Block, the portion of the show where we break down exactly that. What is on our radar until the next time we can gather here together on the program. Let's start with the greasiest of Meatball. Mr. Meatball, sir, what are you watching until Thursday's episode?
I'm going to be I'm watching this market. We're sitting at 4,000. We're really down today. I want to see if Apple, which had just a crazy day so far, continues to behave the way it's behaving. And I'm keeping a tight eye on oil. Oil has had quite the day today. Really interested to see where the next leg is.
Mr. Uncle Mike, same question for you, sir. What are you keeping an eye on until our Thursday episode? Aside from your hardcore training montage of 80s wrestling medley, sir.
Exactly. Well, we didn't just kiss 4,000. We just went below it right as Sebastian was talking. So Sebastian broke the 4,000 mark for us for the SPX. So watching that, seeing if we can stay around that level, and just seeing and waiting and managing risk as best I can until we get this next Fed announcement. And I believe the 14th or 15th, or it's coming up.
It's coming up indeed, listeners. If you want the exact dates of all the Fed announcements, as well as what the markets is pricing in, that CME FedWatch tool, the place to go for all that fun and a whole bunch more. That's going to do it for us on the old option block today. Remember, for the pro folks out there hanging out in the live, listening after the fact, of course, on the old pro podcast feed, we'll have Crypto Rundown coming for you live in your ear holes in about an hour. And then, of course, back again later this week. Got some great pro Q&As coming at you. We've got Saad Hussein from Vesica joining us in the hot seat this week to talk about finding, analyzing what to do with the unusual activity once you find it out there, as well as options oddities on Friday. All the other good stuff we have coming at you throughout the week. And, of course, let's go out to the land of Uncle Mike. Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, what can folks find at St. Charles throughout the week, sir?
Well, for sure, check out my website. Go to stcharleswealth.com if you're interested in having a conversation with a financial advisor who actually looks at the option world. And if you want more information on some things that I'm putting out, follow me on Twitter at Mike TOSAW, TOSAW.
There you go. Check them out. stcharleswealth.com is the place to go. And Mr. Meatball, if they go to the land of the pit, what shall they find, sir?
Yeah, you're going to get good volatility and VIX analysis along with a whole lot of other content there every day. Come visit us. Go check us out, optionpit.com, and you will be a happy camper.
Optionpit.com, the land of the greasiest of meatballs and the rockingest of lobsters and all sorts of other fun over there. Check it out for yourselves. We got to get on out of here. Back again in a little bit for the Crypto Rundown. All you on-demand folks, that'll be hitting the network later on this afternoon. And then back again throughout the rest of the week with a whole bunch of great content. Back again on Thursday, another episode of the Option Block. Stay safe out there, everybody.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.